From the Digital Media Center, on the campus of Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. This is Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English language learners. Here's your host for Ramping Up Your English, John Letts.
Welcome to Ramping Up Your English, an educational support program for intermediate English learners. It's a program for people from all language backgrounds. Ramping Up Your English is also for people of all ages. If you've already passed the beginning stages of learning English and you want to reach higher levels of proficiency, this program is designed to meet your needs. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher levels of English proficiency. Our current thematic unit is Animals. This is segment 1 of episode 40. Our last episode featured pets, comparing and contrasting cats and dogs. Today we focus on more domesticated animals, specifically on farm animals. But first, you may ask, how could I leave the subject of pets without some of that world-renowned video of cats? Okay, let's spend a minute or two watching some video of immature cats. We call them kittens, and here's some video of kittens playing. Well, they certainly are cute, but I have to be fair to our dog lovers out there. It's late fall as we record this episode, so let's watch what happens when puppies meet piles of raked up leaves.
Huh? She doesn't like that at all. Yes, keep messing up my pile. Good job. Thanks for helping. That is just too funny.
Do you remember the words dog, puppy, cat, and kitten? Well, if so, you're well on your way to building your vocabulary about animals. And today we're going to use music to help you learn and remember the words we have for various farm animals. Let's watch this performance of Old Macdonald Had a Farm by Genuine.
Old Macdonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a pig, E-I-E-I-O, with a here and a there, here a there, everywhere a Old Macdonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Old Macdonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O, with a moo here and a moo there, here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo moo. Old Macdonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Old Macdonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a goat, E-I-E-I-O. E-I-E-I-O. With a meh here and a meh there. Here a meh, there a meh, everywhere a meh, meh. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a chicken, E-I-E-I-O. With a cluck here and a cluck there. Here a cluck, there a cluck, everywhere a cluck cluck. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a dog, E-I-E-I-O. With a roof, roof here and a roof, roof here. Here a pow, everywhere a roof, roof. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a sheep, E-I-E-I-O. With a bah here and a bah there. Here a bah, there a bah, everywhere a bah, bah. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Hearing Old MacDonald Had a Farm is a great step in learning the words we use in English for farm animals. We'll share a few more ways to maintain this vocabulary in segment 2 of this episode. This ends segment 1 of episode 40. Now we start segment 2 of episode 40. We're using a content-based approach to help intermediate level English learners improve their English. Now at the end of segment 1, I promised to show you some ways to learn and practice vocabulary, the words you'll need for communicating about animals. Well, here's one thing that, the way that I learned a lot of Spanish vocabulary when I was trying to master that. I wrote out the Spanish word, then wrote the English word beside it. While I know that it's best to relate the target language word with the object you're trying to learn, sometimes it takes this practice to remember words you're having trouble recalling. So here's an example of what your note card might look like for a Spanish speaker improving their English. Pig, el puerco. Cow, la vaca. Bull, el toro. Goat, el chivo. Duck, el pato. Sheep, la oveja. Hen, la gallina. And rooster, el gallo. So during those moments when you're waiting, those little spaces of time when you're not busy, pull out the card and review the words. If you see one of these farm animals, pull out the card and find the name in your home language. Then practice saying the English word for the animal. Now, if you see farm animals often, you'll find yourself looking first at the English word, which is why they're written first before the native language word. You see, you'll instantly see if your choice is correct. Then say the word over and over as you look at the animal, or see it in your mind's eye. I used this method for years in learning Spanish. Another way to ramp up your English vocabulary is to use a bilingual dictionary, like the one you just saw. Now here's a very basic and simple one. Now these pages are dedicated to animals found on the farm. You can see both the English and the Spanish word for each animal, plus some other terms having to do with animals. Of course, you'll want a bilingual dictionary that has your home language in English. Start by looking at your local library. If you find a guide you like, get one from a bookstore. Let's look at some farm animals and see how many you can name in English. So first, what we're going to look at is this animal right here. So this is, it's a chicken, it's true, but because it's a mom chicken, a mother chicken, it's called a hen. And I've actually seen them do this. They spread their wings and let their little chicks go under the wings when it's raining. A pretty cool thing to see. Other animals we can look at right now include the pig, okay? Pigs are really cool. They're very intelligent animals. And if you look at the next picture of the pig, what you're going to see is a female pig, a mama pig, you could say, called a sow, and her babies who are nursing, those babies are called piglets. So that's a sow with her piglets. And here we have nursing again. In this case, a baby cow nursing from its mom. We have a special name for a baby cow as well. It's not piglet, it's calf. So those are some of the English words. Now, when you get more than one cow in a place, you can just look at it and use the collective word cattle. You could say, oh, I saw cattle in the pasture. And there's some examples of cattle right there. And there's cattle in front of a barn. Now, this is a baby goat. Now, a baby goat is called a kid. So you're looking at a kid. There's a kid looking at you. Looking at us anyway. That's a kid. Now, this is a nanny goat. She's the mama goat. Okay, they call them nanny goats. This, of course, as you know from previous ones, is a dog from our previous episodes. Lots of farms have dogs. And here's a mama dog. And now, mama dog is called a bitch. And this is her puppies. Now, you have to be careful with the word bitch because it's a word that can mean a very negative thing. So I would just say mama dog and leave it at that. Now, here's some sheep. And sheep is interesting. If there's a group of them, you don't say sheeps. You don't add an S like most things for more than one. You just say, here's a group of sheep or a herd of sheep. And there's one sheep. The word doesn't change whether it's singular or plural. Now, here are some horses. And this horse is, I'm guessing because it's with its calf, not its calf, its colt, that the horse is a mare, a female horse. And then the colt is a young horse. You can think of it as a baby horse, although as I understand it, a baby horse when it first comes out is called a foal. But anyway, there's a mare and a colt. And there's a horse looking at you, okay? So that's another example of a horse. Now, ducks are really, this is a mama duck or a hen, we call them a hen, and all of her babies, now we have a special name for the baby ducks too, they're called ducklings. And ducklings will follow their mom just like this in a row. I've actually seen this growing up and visiting my grandmother's farm. These are llamas. I didn't grow up with them at all. They're animals from South America, but I saw one this morning in a pasture. It was getting as far away from the cattle as it could. And so that's some great examples of some. Now, clearly, one repetition or two will not be enough to make these words your own. You have to keep practicing them. Now, don't forget the earlier animals we saw in the unit, the horse, the cat, the dog. Add today's farm animals and practice as soon as you see them or a picture of them. Now, learning these words now will set the stage for learning many more as the learning language functions that come with the study of animals. It's a worthy effort to get to know these words. Find pictures of animals in magazines, learn to draw sketches of animals and label them. So I wanted to show you these. These are kind of cute. They're a model. So can you name these animals in English, having seen it? How about in your home language? Well, I'll show you when the camera comes back on. This one is a goat, and this one is a pig. So keep practicing until you know all the animals, and these can have a lot of fun with your kids, you know. You know, like have some fun with them. Now, you're watching Ramping Up Your English on RVTV Voices. We're learning vocabulary, the names of farm animals, and this ends segment 2 of episode 40. We'll be back with some things we have to do to take care of animals on the farm in segment 3 right after this.
What's a horse doing on Ramping Up Your English? We're galloping toward a new unit, animals. So we're in the country meeting some horses. Horses are just one of the many animals that will help viewers ramp up their English.
So funny. Our Mr. Cowboy, you loving that?
Horses, boy, I'm getting the flies. You see, horses have to deal with flies.
Coming soon to RVTV Voices, a new unit on Ramping Up Your English, an educational support program for intermediate level English learners from all language backgrounds. So how can horses help you improve your English? Watch Ramping Up Your English to find out on channels 15 and 115 in Ashland and channel 182 on Charter Cable in Southern Oregon.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. This is segment 3 of episode 40. In our earlier segments, we worked on vocabulary, specifically naming the animals found on a farm. Now, as any farmer will tell you, it's a lot of work to care for domesticated animals. First, there's the matter of food. All living things need food, and farm animals depend on the farmer to eat. And so feeding farm animals can be as simple as using feed from a bag, but they have to get the right kind of food and the right amount. Managing pastures where animals graze can be complicated. Overgrazing can hurt the quality of the land and what it will grow. Sometimes the food from grazing must be supplemented with food like grains. Now, water is another need. Large animals like horses, cows, and pigs need a lot of clean water each day. A structure called a trough is often needed to collect and make available water in the volume needed for large animals. The trough has to be cleaned out from time to time. Smaller animals like chickens and ducks need less water, but the water still has to be kept clean. Now, some farms have streams flowing through them, but large animals can degrade the stream if they have access to it, making a sloppy mess of the bank and degrading the quality of water for wildlife downstream. Like all living things, farm animals need space. Just as we need space to move around and exercise, farm animals need to be able to move around. Now, most animals need a dry surface in which to stand, room to move, and to keep from getting bored, and the space to exercise, just as we do. Farm animals also need shelter. Now, they may need the shade of a tree to escape the hot sun or a shed to get out of the rain. They may need a barn to shield them from the cold wind in the winter. They may need protection from predators, especially the smaller farm animals like chickens and ducks. All these needs keep a farmer busy growing and harvesting hay and other food, moving animals so their grazing doesn't hurt the land, the actual feeding and cleaning the building and repairing the shelter, maintaining fences. Then there's the personal care, making sure animals are protected from diseases and caring for animals when they're sick. That may mean transporting the farm animals or paying for a veterinarian to visit. It may mean helping a horse or cow with the birth of a foal or a calf. It may mean raising a bunch of chicks from the hens. Most farm animals are kept because they provide some kind of product for the farmer. So there's also gathering eggs, milking cows, shearing sheep, and other work. Now, some farm animals provide a service, like horses that produce transportation, or dogs that protect the flock of sheep. So with domesticated animals, there's always a lot of work to be done, some of it in the middle of the night. In some cases, animals are raised, groomed, and trained for competitions. Here's a brief video clip about animals at the county fair. If you've never been to a county fair, you should go. You'll see lots of animals and witness young people building character. This is behind the scenes at the Jackson County Fair. People who have cared for and trained these animals are getting them ready to compete. On this day, when the temperature was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm sure the animals appreciated the cool shower. Both the goats and this steer wagging his tail in pleasure. All this care and preparation lead to showing the animals to judges. This boy showing his sheep. One of the most active groups in animal competition is the 4-H Club. Jackson County 4-H Director Ann Manlove says that all this hard work often leads to higher self-esteem for the kids who undertake this considerable challenge.
Right, and I tell that to leaders at leader training. Kids don't gain self-esteem because you tell them they're great. They gain self-esteem because they set their sights on a goal and they take incremental steps to reach that goal. And when they see that they've accomplished it, it is a tremendous builder for them.
And I'm thinking, in addition to that, in just the building of character,
Yes.
these are competitive events where they're showing their animals.
Yes.
So it appears to me that someone could really put in a lot of work, a lot of care, and they're not the one that gets their blue ribbon. So what a great life lesson, it seems to me, is that there's still value in the effort, but it doesn't mean it always turns out with you on top of the pyramid.
We talk to people about the value of learning to win and lose, and that there's a grace in that you do work. And, you know, there's always going to be somebody that has more money that might be able to buy a better animal or have, you know, better accoutrements, let's say, of the profession. But in the end, it is the work. It's the work ethic. It's the responsibility. That's what we're trying to develop. It isn't about the win.
Along with 4-H, you'll see members of the FFA at the fair. FFA stands for Future Farmers of America. Both organizations involve taking on responsibility and forming a connection to the animals they raise and show. These events develop skills that are tied to animals. Ann Manlove notes that the 4-H teaches these skills through a hands-on approach.
Well, they say kids only retain 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see. And so it's when they're doing it and saying it that they really learn, they have the most learning take place. And so by putting kids in the role where they also then are teaching, which is a very important piece of our 4-H clubs, you know, where the older kids are teaching the younger kids, then they really learn those materials and those skills.
Manlove made her comments on adventures in education on RVTV. You can't start too young to learn caring for animals. Local businesses meet that effort with their support. Entering this large arena at the Jackson County Fair, we see a competition in progress that's involved in horseback riding, with challenges in controlling the horse. Let's watch this rider do the entire circuit. The horse doesn't seem crazy about stepping on that wooden platform, but he persists, and look what happens. In the lower corner of the screen, you can see the judges seated in the white chairs. He has to set the yellow bucket on the second barrel. Now he gets the horse to weave in and out of these orange cones. Apparently, the rider wasn't able to unlatch the rope on the first try, but he persists and he finishes the course. It's that kind of persistence that not only gets a good score, but builds character. Ann Manlove of 4-H says that building character this way not only benefits the child, there's something in it for the whole community.
And it's knowing that in our community, you take one kid at a time, but those kids move into our communities, and they're going to be the people that, you know, pay taxes and have jobs and serve in leadership roles. And so it's just a critical thing to be developing our kids.
Ann Manlove made her comments during a March 2014 edition of Adventures in Education on RVTV Voices. You can find a link to that entire program on my website, letscreate.org. That's where you can find all the learning materials that go with this episode of Ramping Up Your English. You can watch the entire episode 40 from that site, or you can watch today's show in segments. You can watch and even download today's program by going to archive.org/details/RogueTV. Click on the name of this program, Ramping Up Your English, or on my name, John Letts. Then find episode 40. Of course, you can watch Ramping Up Your English on channels 15, 15.1, and 115 on the Ashland Home Network, and on channel 182 on Charter Cable in Southern Oregon. Showtimes are 8 a.m. on Mondays and 7:30 p.m. on Thursdays. Channels and showtimes may vary in other areas. Contact your local public access station to see the schedule in your area. I want to thank artist and performer Jin Yuen for her performance of Old MacDonald today. I want to thank my talented and loyal crew, and I want to thank you, our viewers. Join us next time for Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/RogueTV. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.